More than 12 bikes incinerated, and an entire assault group wiped off the map this morning. Smoldering wreckage litters the open fields. Zero penetration achieved. No ground gained. What Moscow planned as a lightning thrust ended in a silent field of ruins before midday. This was not a major theater-level offensive, nor did any cities fall. Yet this local defeat exposes a brutal truth about modern frontline warfare. High speed cannot save infantry when the airspace is hostile, and every single step is monitored. The Russian bike squad raced across open country, betting raw momentum could outrun the threat. Instead, they rode straight into a pre-registered kill zone overseen by Ukrainian recon drones and concealed snipers. Within minutes, this high-mobility maneuver collapsed into a total slaughter. Ukrainian defenders did not rely on chance or a single silver bullet. Elite snipers and strike drones operated as a unified network that observed, designated, and executed. Every counteraction was driven by intelligence gathered long before the shooting started, a detail routinely missed in combat footage. The decisive combat occurred much earlier, fought in the skies and through data streams. Now, you and I must face an unavoidable tactical question. If a mobile assault gets vaporized this fast, how can any high-speed ground doctrine survive when invisible eyes in the sky dictate who advances and who burns? Russian command has aggressively pushed these motorcycle assault detachments forward, because conventional heavy armor cannot survive the approach to Ukrainian fortified lines anymore. Tanks and carriers draw instant attention, inviting immediate strikes from drones and heavy artillery. This precision fire routinely wipes out whole columns before contact. High-speed bikes offer a different calculus. They are cheap, fast, and completely expendable, promising a way to shuttle infantry across hot zones without risking scarce armored platforms. Over recent months, these highly agile units have served as scouts, pathfinders, and shock troops tasked with locating gaps in Ukrainian lines. The operators ride light, maintain wide spacing, and trust their speed to cross sectors lethal to heavier armor. From Moscow's tactical standpoint, this maneuver is not designed to win a decisive engagement instantly. It is meant to force rapid contact, disorient the defenders, and carve out seams for heavier echelons. On a map, this doctrine makes tactical sense. Bikes can slip through tree lines, hug field boundaries, and change their vector faster than heavy-tracked platforms. They drastically lower the material cost of failure, since sacrificing a bike and its rider hurts less than losing a full tank crew. This math explains why these light units lead the charge, acting as the vanguard ahead of heavier armor elements. Their mission is to detonate mines, draw defensive fires, and expose Ukrainian strongpoints through force feedback. Once those targets are identified, the secondary waves are ordered to strike with massive force. The critical flaw emerges when this theory collides with harsh frontline reality. Ukrainian units dominate the low-altitude airspace across active sectors, transforming how troop movements are countered. Suicide drones do not require a massive target to strike. They feed on thermal signatures, movement, and repetitive patterns. While the assault teams rely on speed, that fast motion leaves obvious trails along highly predictable corridors. Fields that appear safe on a map are fully compromised when under constant aerial surveillance. In this environment, stealth is totally impossible. They become active targets. Once a route is burned, every subsequent rider commits to a suicide run. This is where the entire concept catastrophically unravels. The operational viability of light units hinges entirely on stealth. If Ukrainian aerial intelligence knows their approach corridor beforehand, their speed advantage is completely neutralized before the opening shots. What was designed as a low-risk approach vector becomes a pre-sighted shooting gallery. The tactical environment is hostile. Ukrainian forces deploy deep defenses that do not rely on single trench lines. You and I must realize they use obstacles, spotters, and strike units linked by communications faster than any dirt bike. This ensures any probing action escalates into a major engagement immediately. Once we detect them, we isolate their path and turn their supposed breakthrough into a lethal kill zone. Russian units still deploy assault motorcycles because their other options are worse. Heavy armor losses persist, and slow-moving infantry advances are getting absolutely decimated under constant aerial surveillance. Bikes offer a desperate choice among terrible options, but that tactic only works when our defenders lack full situational awareness. Across a front blanketed by persistent low-altitude surveillance, the exact features making these bikes attractive also make them incredibly vulnerable. This is the background of the latest ambush, showing how a tactic meant to bypass heavy casualties led them straight into total destruction. Battlefield control in this engagement was established early, as Ukrainian reconnaissance drones were already shaping the entire fight from the air. These aerial assets did not rush to strike or reveal their position. They hovered at a distance, tracking the motorcycle unit moving across exposed open ground. Their speed, spacing, and heading were logged in real time, converting a fast column into highly predictable target patterns. Every shift in formation and halt on their route fed critical data into a live tactical picture, growing clearer by the minute. This initial observation phase mattered far more than any kinetic strike that followed. Before those riders even reached the designated kill zone, their tactical survival windows were already slamming shut without their knowledge. Our feed tracked which paths they favored, where they slowed down, and how the terrain funneled them into narrow, inescapable corridors. From the sky, those wide-open fields looked incredibly restrictive, leaving the enemy completely exposed. This telemetry was not saved for some future intelligence analysis. We relayed these coordinates immediately to our forward sniper teams waiting on the ground. Armed with this live intelligence feed, the snipers skipped the guesswork. They occupied optimal firing angles early, locking down the exact choke points along the enemy line of advance. This eliminated any need for split-second, reactive decisions under fire. Rather than reacting to contact, our shooters were ready before the lead rider even crossed into range. This integration defined the entire operation. When eyes and shooters sync up as one system, timing becomes a devastating weapon. This ambush was not triggered by chance or a sudden, panicked sighting. We initiated the attack only when their movements aligned perfectly with our trap, ensuring the opening rounds achieved maximum lethality. This did not just cause heavy casualties, it completely shattered their command and control. The enemy never had the chance to engage in a fair, mutual meeting engagement. Our forces knew exactly what was coming. Drones do more than locate targets. They control the operational tempo until the precise moment of execution. During this action, our assets remained silent and patient, denying the hostile motorcycle squad any warning that they were locked in our sights. That silence baited them into false confidence. The squad maintained high speed, assuming they were completely undetected. By the time we opened fire, they had zero room left to adapt. This is how reconnaissance dictates the tempo. When we control the information space, the enemy is forced into a delayed, panicked reaction. No amount of speed can reclaim lost time once our shooters occupy the high ground. Our sniper teams leveraged this battlefield dominance in several key ways. They established highly stable concealed firing positions instead of having to rush under pressure. Our marksmen coordinated overlapping fields of fire based on the enemy's mapped approach routes. They also planned their exfiltration routes ahead of time, using aerial feeds showing likely hostile escape paths. This stripped away uncertainty during the high-risk phases of the battle, while the enemy operated completely blind. Those riders relied purely on speed and dispersion, but neither tactic could save them once their route was compromised. Every meter they advanced only pushed them deeper into a pre-mapped kill zone we had meticulously prepared. The result was a brutal engagement where the tactical initiative never shifted. The enemy never seized control of the situation, as our force maintained total information dominance from start to finish. This is the vital operational lesson from this latest clash. In modern electronic warfare, the force that observes first does not need to strike first. We can wait, shape the battlefield, and dictate exactly when their movement ends. When combat-proven drones provide this level of control, the battle is decided before the first shot is even fired. This engagement flipped the second that opening round landed. It was never about triggering a firefight. It was a deliberate strike to shatter their advance. The lead point rider took a direct hit. His motorcycle lost traction, wiped out, and blocked the tight trail the column was advancing down. That one hit instantly broke their tactical spacing, forcing the trailing vehicles to brake at the absolute worst bottleneck. Their momentum died instantly. A high-speed assault element turned into a chaotic pileup of scattered troops trying to process the threat. Some operators slammed on their brakes, while others tried to swerve past the flaming wreck, while a desperate few throttled forward blindly into the kill zone. This fracture in cohesion gave the sniper elements exactly what they wanted. Subsequent fire did not target random bodies. They targeted battlefield roles. Anyone trying to organize a rally was dropped first, because command and control is everything. Troops slowing down to assess the damage remained exposed, converting hesitation into immediate casualties. Each shot was timed to prolong the panic, deliberately dragging out the engagement. Every round that hit injected pure panic, and that psychological pressure ripped through the unit faster than any radio order could. Engines were still revving, but all unit coordination had collapsed. Thick dust rose as riders scrambled in complete disarray. During this phase, velocity ceased to protect and became their worst enemy. High speed without vector control only shattered their lines, making mutual tactical support impossible. Soldiers attempting to bolt drew immediate fire with their engine noise, while those who froze became sitting ducks in the open. Once their battle drills broke down, every single option was lethal. The hostile marksmen worked this imbalance, pacing their trigger pulls. They fired in slow, calculated intervals, not rapid volleys. This strict fire discipline kept the patrol from identifying enemy numbers or pinpointing their concealed firing positions. A complete lack of battlefield intelligence bred terror. When troops cannot locate incoming fire, every direction looks like a threat. The squad fractured completely, with panic-driven self-preservation replacing their established tactical plan. Men scrambled for non-existent cover. Others ditched their rides to escape on foot, only to become even slower targets. The primary objective here was psychological disruption, not just physical destruction. Their vehicles had full tanks and clear paths forward, but the troops had lost all faith in speed as defense. That hesitation allowed the sniper element to dictate the entire engagement. As the assault dragged on, this ceased to be a fluid battle and became a methodical slaughter. Targets popped up, froze, and fell in highly predictable patterns dictated by fear instead of training. A highly mobile element designed to bypass obstacles got choked by its own panic response. Within minutes, the entire advance was completely halted. They were fighting second by second. This is the textbook way a rapid maneuver force gets pinned down. Once movement loses cohesion, a tiny fire team can completely dominate a larger unit. The equipment did not fail due to mechanical breakdown. It failed because lightweight mobility relies on uninterrupted tempo. Once that operational tempo was broken by one precise round, the outcome was set. This action proves that modern ambushes focus on breaking unit behavior before targeting hard assets. Before the final rounds were even fired, the tactical outcome had been determined. Their velocity was gone, command was destroyed, and a rapid assault unit lay shattered and pinned in the open. Russian units attempted to return fire immediately, but their hasty response exposed a massive structural vulnerability. Infantry blindly sprayed automatic fire toward distant tree lines, but not a single soldier could locate the actual threat position. Crackling muzzle blasts echoed from multiple angles, forcing the squad to waste ammunition on guesswork rather than confirmed targets. Lacking real-time targeting, they chose volume over precision, wasting precious seconds as combat stress reached critical levels. They desperately called in mortar missions, but those fire requests faced the exact same fatal flaw. Heavy artillery and mortar crews need precise target coordinates, but during this chaotic contact, actionable data never materialized. The sniper teams broke contact and relocated after every shot, meaning the threat had vanished long before any fire mission arrived. Heavy rounds impacted empty dirt where the shooters had been minutes ago, completely missing the active threat. This gap between combat effort and actual operational effect only widened. Infantry elements on the ground are laying down heavy fire, but it is yielding zero results. The enemy shooters are completely invisible, and the tactical pressure is relentless. Comms are deteriorating fast. Radio traffic is flooded with overlapping, chaotic commands. Panicked units are screaming for suppressive fire, while others beg for coordinates. Nobody has eyes on the actual threat. In this chaos, coordination completely collapsed. Heavy machine gun fire is being sprayed at an invisible enemy, only adding to the raw panic of the mobile riders. Thick dust and smoke have choked out visibility, transforming the kill zone into a blinding blur of violence. Every blind shot fired only deepens their panic. Make no mistake, they have the firepower. Heavy weapons are hot, ammunition is stocked, and heavy support is on standby. But the enemy snipers are dictating when to squeeze the trigger, while Russian forces simply react to the bleeding. These troops are trapped in a deadly loop, always a step behind the threat. Every desperate attempt to push forward only exposes their positions to immediate, lethal counterattacks. At this point, their defensive fire acts as a beacon, not protection. Any attempt to regroup simply paints a massive target on their huddling troops. Trying to pull back is suicide. The retreat corridors are just as exposed as the advance lines, leaving absolutely zero margin to regroup. They called in indirect artillery to reset the line, but it only highlighted their utter helplessness. The heavy barrages failed to silence the snipers, who remain highly elusive. The harder the Russian side tries to overpower them with sheer volume, the more their tactical command structure unravels. Firepower without intelligence is just loud noise. It won't stop a disciplined enemy waiting for the perfect shot. As this brutal engagement drags on, it is clear that raw reaction cannot save these men. Their counterfire only drained energy, exposed positions, and delivered zero tactical advantage. They are now a shattered element, facing an enemy that still dictates the tempo. This battle is a textbook reminder. Modern warfare isn't decided by who burns more ammunition. Victory goes to whoever connects real-time reconnaissance to immediate kinetic action. When that link is severed, even massive firepower cannot restore control. The moment that motorcycle squad was ambushed and halted, speed vanished and deadly hesitation took over. The element lost all offensive capability. The initial kinetic shock completely shattered their confidence and disrupted their battle rhythm. Motorcycles are abandoned, while pinned soldiers scatter into whatever shallow cover they can find. Everyone desperately trying to reduce exposure instead of pushing the assault. In the initial chaos, Russian troops radioed for urgent help from nearby armor. Armored support was requested immediately. They fully understood that light infantry stands zero chance against unseen sniper fire. While waiting for armor to arrive, they tried desperately to hold their ground. Mortar crews kept lobbing shells into the tree line, not to neutralize the threat, but to suppress suspected enemy positions and buy precious minutes. Isolated fire teams are blind firing their rifles, even though they still cannot pinpoint a single enemy muzzle flash. Several troops are fleeing on foot, ditching their vehicles, while others keep their heads down, completely isolated. High above them, Ukrainian FPV drones are circling. Overwatch. These aerial assets are feeding live, high-resolution telemetry to Ukrainian command, mapping out scattered infantry, pinned targets, and abandoned gear. With perfect battlefield intelligence, Ukrainian operators have no reason to rush their strikes. Sniper teams are systematically picking off targets, prioritizing anyone moving, trying to resupply, or firing mortars. Every shot reinforces the brutal reality. The longer this unit remains pinned, the fewer tactical options they have left. Finally, Russian heavy armor begins rolling into the sector. Tanks and BMPs advance, operating under the assumption that their heavy guns can suppress the threat. But their element of surprise is entirely compromised. Recon drones spotted the armor miles away. They immediately relayed coordinates, and the waiting sniper teams adjusted their sights. They aren't about to duel heavy vehicle cannons, but the scout team disengaged, relocating before those heavy tank rounds ever fired. When hostile armor opened fire, their high-explosive shells struck empty dirt rather than personnel. The kinetic firepower was massive, but the target positions were completely abandoned. Right then, the engagement entered its lethal final phase. With snipers pulled back, operational pressure shifted to FPV drones. They did not just watch. Operators actively steered these suicide platforms into moving targets, diving directly onto exposed armor, or dropping small ordnance from above. Several platforms slammed directly into vulnerable weak spots, while others dropped shaped charges onto engine decks and turret roofs. Every impact forced hostile crews to button up, instantly killing their visibility, and completely abandoning any attempt to scan their local sector. Thick smoke and battle damage blinded them further, forcing these heavy vehicles to focus entirely on basic survival instead of tactical control. Stripped of infantry support on the ground, the isolated armor could not secure the objective or clear the sector. Harassed by relentless aerial strikes, the armor could no longer support cut-off troops, becoming static targets pinned down in the open. This battle was decided not by a single superweapon, but by ruthless tactical timing. Once momentum stalled and the defender held the intelligence advantage, any counter-move to regain initiative was dead on arrival. While this tactical ambush did not shift the front lines, it sends a brutal warning that echoes far beyond this graveyard of steel. The action demonstrates exactly how modern high-tech combat operates when reconnaissance, timing, and striking range are integrated into a single system. High-speed bikes, aggressive assault troops, and heavy weapons meant nothing once the operational intelligence was monopolized by the defending force. The fallout was not just burnt-out gear, but a total collapse of command confidence that paralyzed the entire advance. This is exactly where 20th century combined arms doctrine begins to shatter. Speed alone cannot guarantee survival, and raw sacrifice no longer forces a breakthrough when the enemy is watching your every move. So, what is the next step? Can Russian officers adapt their tactics to shield armor advancing under persistent drone watch, or are these catastrophic graveyards the new normal? Make no mistake, global militaries are studying these lessons closely. These killer technologies are proliferating rapidly, and the same lethal risks await any army attempting maneuvers without dominating the electromagnetic and information space. That shift is actively unfolding, and the strategic fallout remains to be seen. If you value this level of hard tactical analysis, hit like, share this brief with other defense analysts, and subscribe to Military Force for crucial updates on how modern high-intensity conflict is evolving in real time.